Tracy Malone, author, speaker, educator, and international narcissistic abuse and divorce coach, is here with us today to talk about the financial battles of divorcing a narcissist. Tracy is a survivor of abuse herself and the founder of narcissisticabussupport.com. It is a global resource that reaches millions of survivors. Tracy wrote her best-selling book, Divorcing a Narcissist, You Can't Make This Shit Up, as well as 32 healing journals. She's got a popular YouTube channel and podcast that has also reached millions of survivors. Tracy, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to finally have you on the podcast.
I am excited to be here and help you get this podcast out to the world because you're a superhero and I have so much trust in you as a friend and the work you're doing. So thank you.
I feel the same too. Narcissism, financial abuse, just financial issues and divorce are so closely connected. And so many of the people I work with are experiencing narcissistic traits, if not narcissism full blown with who they're divorcing. And I know your clients are a lot of times experiencing financial issues. So there's so much overlap in what we're doing that it makes sense for us to talk. And I want to have you get us all on the same page with defining what a narcissist is.
Sure. So the DSM-5, which defines what it is it's like a grandiose sense of self-importance and exaggerates their achievements, believes they're special, and requires extra admiration and attention and entitlement. That is sort of like, to me, the stupidest definition, because it really doesn't define what they do, right? They use charm as a weapon. They manipulate people. They intimidate. They stalk. They lie. They wear masks to hook people into being their servants. They live secret lives. There's so much more to it than the DSM-5 thing. But the bottom line is that they are people with a personality disorder, and they are out to protect themselves. And that means they must win. And that means someone else has to lose in divorce.
And most times they'll win at all costs, right? They don't care who they hurt in the process, whether it hurts you, whether it hurts your children, whether it hurts innocent bystanders. They don't really care.
No. And again, that goes to the lack of empathy, right? If they have no empathy for what they're going to do to you, or when they turn your children against you, they don't care what that's doing to the family structure or to a child who was homeschooled by their mother just because they want revenge, right? They don't care who they hurt or how deep the wound goes.
Now, there's a difference between someone who has narcissistic behaviors and someone who's actually diagnosed as a narcissist, right?
Well, there would be if you actually got more narcissists to be diagnosed, right? And that's the strange part, and I have a clip of it in my book, because they're saying about 8%, 5 to 8% of population is narcissistic or has NPD. Who is getting counted? That's my question. True. Like, they don't go, and it's like 1 in 1,000 are forced to go and get a diagnosis. So I don't count the actual narcissists. I count the victims, because they don't hurt one person. So if you're thinking about 5% of the population, that's 17 million narcissists in the United States. If we go on the high end, we're talking 27 million narcissists hurting one person. That's 27 million victims. More like 270 million people are victims. This is why we're talking about it. Not because it's a buzzword and because we like to just attach it, but if it walks like a duck and it talks like a swan, and it's like, if it's a narcissist and they're doing these things, finding the relation to the word is going to help people get the help that they need based on the behaviors, not on a diagnosis. Because again, who's getting in line to pick me? I want to get counted. It doesn't work that way. So it really is about, when I went through my divorce, no one ever told me what a narcissist was. Didn't know it till years later. And when I finally looked at it and saw, I could go and get a book and go, oh my God, that is exactly what happened. Oh my goodness, right? It's the word that gives you the education or direction. Again, it's not imprinting. You're not going and saying in court, certainly not he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist. We're not doing that. It's based on the behaviors and how they make you feel and the tactics and strategies. By understanding that they could be a narcissist, we have a whole arsenal of what tactics they could pull. So it helps, like the shock factor kind of help.
Right. I think that being able to put a word to something and define something is
Mhm.
really empowering. So
Mhm.
for the women I work with in divorce, it helps them realize, oh my gosh, this is a thing. I'm not alone. And there's something we can do about this. But one of the things that I sometimes see is really a lot of overuse of the word narcissist, or like a desire to call your ex a narcissist to his face, and keeps and when you're having interactions or text messages saying, well, there you are being a narcissist again, and things like that. Is that helpful?
No, it's like poking the bear. It's probably the biggest mistake you could do because it's also giving away your hand and your strategy, and it pisses them off, and that turns them into the devil monster that is out for revenge. Like, I'm not saying it would have been a calm and peaceful divorce had you not called them it, but when you do call them it, like, it's all things are on the table. They're gonna get you. You've turned them into the enemy by saying that, because it hurts them. It wounds their little ego. And so it's very much a mistake to use that kind of lingo even in a text, because again, it's going to backfire.
Yeah, I always think about when we're communicating with the person we're divorcing, whether they're a narcissist, whether they're just a normal person, we have a fairly amicable divorce. I always ask people to step back and think about, what message do you really want to send? Is this meeting your objectives, right? If we're trying to sort out parenting time with the kids and what's going to happen next weekend with the kids, throwing barbs like you're a narcissist is not going to get us there. But if we instead are focusing on what the communication is, that we need to have an agreement about what time we're exchanging the kids next weekend, and we just stick to those facts, we can make better headway in the divorce.
Absolutely. Again, it's keeping them in a more neutral zone to not accuse them of it. And certainly no judge cares, and there's always people standing up and the judge, he's a narcissist. Judges don't care. They're not going to diagnose. They don't even want to play with that ball. But if you tell them that they are hiding assets or they are doing XYZ tactics, that's when a judge will care, not the actual title, but the behaviors that are illegal or, immoral could be brought up as behaviors, not with the narcissist flag on them. It's just a bad form in court.
Well, you mentioned hiding money, one of my favorite topics, and legal abuse and financial abuse are some favorite things for narcissists to do during divorce, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, What are some of the really common things in that realm that you see with legal abuse and financial abuse coming from a narcissist?
Well, everything with a narcissist is on a spectrum. And I want really people to understand that because, I have a red flag checklist on my website, and they're like, people come on and sign up for coaching and be like, but they never did this, so they must not be. And I'm like, it's a spectrum. You don't have to check every single box, right? Nor do you need to fear that all of these financial tactics will be something they will deploy. It's a spectrum. On the low end, they're going to hide money. They're going to, and it's not just, okay, we're getting a divorce, so let me go take some of our money and hide it and put it in. That's in plain sight. We can see that. And when the records come in, we'll know it, right? It's the fact that they've been doing it for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the malignancy where this is, if this ever goes wrong, I've taken care of myself. And so that's, the difference. But the tactics are certainly, not only hiding money, but like, and stealing joint money. I have at least 5 clients right now that their money has been cut off, and just like all of a sudden, boom, we're done. And the water bill's coming up and their electric bill can't be paid. And so that kind of tactic limits your your legal budget, right? By doing
Right.
that, you're paying everything to get the water back on, and money to your lawyer to fight the fact that they haven't paid the water bill, even though they were ordered to last month. And you just go into the legal abuse crosses the financial line because of that. if you are having to go to your lawyer and go, hey, they're about to turn off the water, $500. Oh, they still didn't do it, $500. So you're paying your lawyer. That's where the legal abuse overlaps, right? And the financial
Mm-hmm.
abuse comes into it is, they will run up the bill with these things or being obstructive, right? If they do not hand in their papers, then you are spending $500 every time your lawyer has to ping them, ask them, demand them, file motions to
Right.
compel. All these things are financial in your eyes.
I am a big proponent that if divorce is imminent or you're going to be filing divorce, that you take money out of the joint assets and secure that for yourself. At
Mm-hmm.
least half, sometimes more. There are situations in which, you've got $25,000 in the joint checking account. There are some situations in which you should take all 25,000 of it and set it aside. I'm not saying hide it because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to account for it all in the divorce, but you may need that safety net going through the process of divorce, especially if your husband is the breadwinner for the family and he's working and he's going to have a paycheck and money coming in on a regular basis and you aren't working and you've got nothing coming in. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. I was told to do that, and I did withdraw the money. And to top it, to make it more secure, we put it in escrow in the lawyer's account. Right. So the lawyer's like, I told her to do this, judge. Here's, we've taken
right?
the money. And every single 7 trials was Tracy stole the money. And then it's a false allegation. No, here's the paperwork. It's still in our account, judge. But because I did that, it pissed him off, poked the bear, right? And what that meant was he was never going to pay me the actual alimony that he was supposed to give me temporary orders for. So my lawyer was very smart, as you're advising yours. It was, you know what, judge, look, he was supposed to pay her money last month and he still hasn't. Can we take it out of his share of what we put away in our account? I'll just, send it over to Tracy. Sure, that's fine. And the judge would give her permission to gobble up the rest of his half of money. And so, again, it's there's so many tactics that they can use, but, definitely protecting yourself is the most essential part here, as you said.
So many of my clients were put in a bad position from the outset of their divorce because their husband, who was the breadwinner and had this regular source of money, drained the bank account, wiped it out, or took their name off, cut them off from finances. And I've had so many clients say, oh, I thought he would never do that. I thought he would never do that. He wouldn't be unfair like that, but I see it too often. And that's why I tell my clients, you gotta look out for yourself first. I know you think you want to be fair about it and we want to be nice, but really you can get in a bad position if you don't protect yourself.
And what you just described is magical thinking. Magical thinking is sort of I never thought he would do that. This is so unlike him. No, you haven't seen anything yet, is really the bottom line. And it's you know, it's a war zone now. What you thought they would ever do is not the same thing as what's going to happen now. You're in a battle for their life, and everything they want, you are a threat to. And so they are going to try tricks you've never
Mm-hmm.
even imagined they would do.
Well, I want you to talk about something that narcissists like to do that we call Darvo, because I
Yeah,
think a lot of our listeners might not know what that is, but once they hear you explain it, they're going to connect with that.
absolutely. So DARVO is an acronym that I don't believe that it's assigned necessarily to narcissists. I recently heard it on a political show. I'm like, they're using our term, yay! But DARVO is deny, uh, attack, reverse offender, and victim, right? And so if you are, they're going to deny that they did anything, and they're going to make it your fault. So that's what deny is. It's they're just going to deny, attack you. Again, I didn't do it. Well, they're going to turn it around. That's what they do in court. I think judges should have that written over their bench to understand this is, oh, I see what's happening here. But that's what almost all narcissists do. I mean, I've never seen one that hasn't, is deny, reverse victim, and attack you. Right? I mean, it's just what they're going to do.
And if you're the victim of a narcissist, I bet right now you're thinking to yourself, you can probably think of a number of examples in your relationship where you and your husband were both there. Something happened. You guys know exactly what happened. And he just tells a lie about it. And he did something, but he's making it your fault or making that you were the aggressor or whatever. And you're like, how does this exist in reality when we were both there and we know exactly what happened and he's just lying about it now?
Absolutely. That's the most difficult thing, is to come to terms with, again, the person they become, this liar. That they try to erase your entire life together and start to plant the seeds. You're an alcoholic the whole time and they're the victim of you, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so we have to expect this. Again, this is their coping mechanism, is to attack and project. If they are like talking and accusing you of something, they're doing it. It's projection 101, and they're experts at it. And they start the long game with these projections, right? Way, way ahead of time. And then they just keep the ball rolling. And the lies are unbelievable. I mean, to me, sitting there fighting a false claim that I stole money, when it's like sitting there in the bank and we reported it every single time, But
Right.
it was just, again, that's how they attack. They're rabid dogs when they attack. Male or female
Mhm.
narcissists are evil.
Okay, so getting back to money issues, how does someone protect themselves financially and legally as well when they're getting divorced from the narcissist?
Well, I think the important thing is to remember that narcissists think in black and white, good or evil, but they live in the gray. So if the divorce decree says you get like a normal parenting plan, or you get the kids this Christmas and I get them next year, right? They will take the kid and keep them for 2 weeks because it's Christmas vacation, and it doesn't define when they have to return the child. So the gray areas are everything, consequences if they don't pay. And I have this in my book, which I call the what if they don't clause. And the reason that it's important is because they don't comply. And that's what post-divorce legal abuse is. Financial stuff gets into, I have to now go to court to fight and get the fact that this person was ordered to sell that rental property and give me the money. And here we are 2 years later. I was in court with someone when this happened. 2 years later, they hadn't paid it. And so we're sitting in front of the judge, and my client's lawyer sitting there, and they said, sir, you got 30 days, you're going to jail, and you got to pay. And my client's lawyer said, judge, can we get the $20,000 it cost us to get here today back? Because why should she be paying for this? And the judge said, I would love to, but it wasn't in the first decree. So like, I'm pulling the ponytail of the lawyer on the way out the door. What should have been in there, right? And it's a non-compliance clause. If they don't pay, what is going to happen? Most of the time, divorce decrees say you'll go back to court. Oh, you guys can come back to court. We'll figure it out then. Well, that's an expensive proposition, and narcissists like to take you back, especially
Right.
if they've got more money. They don't care. They're draining your assets by doing that. So having something in there that says if he doesn't pay, and this is what the what if they don't clause is, if they don't do what they were supposed to pay and you have to take them back, they're going to pay your legal fees.
Well, I'm going to take that one step further because I can't tell you how many times I have had this conversation with attorneys where we need to create a process whereby he isn't the one who is responsible to pay us. If there's a piece of property that's going to be sold, we need to put in the decree that the property is going to be sold, and at closing, a check is going to be issued to our client in the amount of whatever amount, whether it's a percentage or a dollar amount, so that that money never goes into his hands. Or if the divorce isn't final yet and we don't know how much each person is getting, then the proceeds of that sale go into an escrow account and nobody touches it until we finalize this, so that we're not waiting for a check from him.
Right. And that's covering the gray areas. You're anticipating that this could happen, and therefore we have a clause that protects you from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what this kind of thing happens is what would happen if they don't pay? What would happen if, again, there's so many financial oddities that can continue on. It really comes down to protecting yourself, bookending everything, having a what if they don't do this. And one of the biggest things I see is people don't put in, and this is the stupidest mistake of all, is if you are going to be divorcing a narcissist, you're going to have conflicts.
Uh-huh.
And there's no conflict resolution policy. There's no discussion of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, first step, we'll defer to the expert. If the expert's a dentist that says our kid needs braces, we listen and we pay. We split because we are listening to the expert. And then we'll go into a mediator, or we'll go into a parenting coordinator, or whoever the level up is that you have to, before you go into court and pay $500 an hour for lawyers and months before anything gets resolved. But having that conflict resolution is, we'll have a parent coordinator, and if we don't agree on this, we'll call them, they make the decision, and we're done, right? Why don't people put that more in? That's how we protect ourselves. And it's not just for all the little things. It's huge on the financial part, because you have to protect your assets. And if they don't turn over the retirement money like they were supposed to, oh, well, just go back to court. Well, I'm bankrupt, and that was going to help me get,
Right.
Where I need, and I can't. So you're locked in because of that financial claw. And so the more you can get in there to protect yourself, the smarter your post-divorce will be less conflict.
Right.
You'll have if it doesn't, you don't agree. All right, next step, we got this plan. That's how you protect yourself. And not a normal lawyer is not going to even understand that.
Even if you're not divorcing a narcissist, having these parameters in place is so helpful, because in almost every single divorce, things come up afterwards that there are disagreements about. But if you have it very clear in the marital settlement agreement, here's what happens if we disagree. Here's what happens if you don't do what you're supposed to do. It makes it so much less costly and so much easier. We all have the set of rules that we know.
Absolutely. And it's really, without defining the rules, you're open to that gray area where they can, I interpreted it this way. Sorry, I'm not bringing the kids back for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
Sorry, I'm not giving your money. It doesn't say when I have to give you the retirement account.
Right.
Think about that. Having a line that just says within 30 days, and this is the policy, and here's how you're going to turn that over to me. Now there's no questions. And the best part is, if they don't do it now that it's in there, now it's really a contempt charge. We don't have to go into let's go to motion to compel, motion to comply, motion $20,000. We just go right for the guns, because it's actually breaking the law by not complying, which is, again, going to protect you.
Well, Tracy, I loved doing the Tracy and Tracy show on my podcast this time, because we've done it a couple of times on your show. I could talk with you for hours, because this is such a compelling topic and you are such a wealth of information. I know that you have something really exciting happening in your business very soon, don't you?
Sure, I do. It's kind of a tie from my book, but I have seen this post-divorce abuse stuff, and I became fascinated with the parenting plan part of it, because I coach people who are co-parenting and the nightmares that they've seen. And I'm like, God, if we had a conflict resolution policy, you wouldn't be in court 84 times, right? But all of the same things happen in the parenting plan. So we're having a big launch. This is like nothing anyone's ever seen. It's an education of what you're entitled to. I want it to be like a McDonald's menu. Like, I'll take 2 of those and 1 of those, because do you really want to spend $500 an hour to have your lawyer educate you on your choices? No. They're going to go, Christmas this year and Christmas next year. They're not going to think about the gray areas for every detail. This lets you think about, oh, I can ask for that? Sure. Or fight for it in some cases. Let's go for that. That will protect me this way. I want that. So that's what's coming up. I'm very excited.
Well, we, of course, are going to link the course in the show notes. We are going to have a link to your book there as well, Divorcing Your Narcissist. You can't make this shit up. Thank you so much for being so giving of your time and your knowledge.
Thank you for having me.